live edition. And guess what, guys? Tonight we got a special topic. We're going to talk about not being able to talk to the person you're supposed to love the most. You're scared to talk to them. We're going to get into some layers. But before we do that, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to share and invite this with your friends and family. I need for you to, pay attention and give me about 30 seconds to make sure everything is going where it's supposed to go. And then I'll be right back and we can start the podcast and, keep the ears open. You have anybody that you feel like, or even yourself that might be in a situation where it's difficult to communicate with your partner. I need you to stay tuned. So stand by.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I know. Derek Jones about to break it down with the relationship gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, cause better relationships need better ingredients, so if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better, yeah. Derek Jones, the host, your relationship coach. Thank you all for tuning in. Relationship gumbo,
All right, we are back. As you come in, let me know you're here. Say hi. You feel free to comment. Your comments will be, if it's pertinent to the topic, I'll read them on the live podcast. And as you know, if you don't know, if you're here for the first time, the way this works is this is also an audio podcast. So I will extract the audio and upload it to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all these other places, Pandora, iHeart, all of these places. So the way that I do this is I will pause for 3 seconds. I will start the podcast, and when the podcast portion is over, I will pause for another 3 seconds. So that's how it is, easy peasy. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to another episode of the Relationship Gumbo Podcast. My name is Derek Jones, and I am your host. I'm a certified life and relationship coach, a strategist, an engineer, and also a mental health advocate. And tonight, we are going to talk about why people are afraid to talk to a person that you love the most, someone you're in a long-term relationship or a marriage with, and the things that you feel and the things you want to get off your chest. That one person that's supposed to be the closest person to you, you're afraid to talk to them. And we're going to talk about why. We're going to peel back the layers. A lot of this stuff, we talk about on the show quite often. However, there's always extra layers to peel back. Because if we don't peel the layers back, we'll never identify the source of the issue, right? And that's why I'm a proponent for taking time to discover who you are. And sometimes you need some help to do that, whether it's via a coach or a therapist or a family member that you can talk to. We should never, and I know this is a hard pill to swallow, but we should never be afraid to talk to the person that we love. Because how does your relationship grow if you can't grow it by the communication, right? So let's talk about these are not all of the potential things that can happen, but there's some things I wanted to highlight, right? So the first thing I wanted to highlight is sometimes us being afraid to communicate with a partner comes from some things that we dealt with even before we met the person. It's not even about your current relationship. It's about relationships past. And sometimes when we are dealing with someone of the opposite gender or whatever your flavor is. I know it's 2021. And when we see that person of the opposite gender, that person becomes the embodiment of the things that you've dealt with other people. And so because you've been hurt or you have some trauma from that prior situation, what you do is you assume that the new person might have some of those same traits because they're a man or they're a woman. And so there's certain things that you shy away from because you'll be triggered if that person reacts the same way the person did that was the original person that hurt you. And this is something that you got to really think about. This is one of my buttons, over my life, as I always say, don't make me pay for the crimes of the person that came before me. Because it's not fair. But as human beings, we kind of do it because it comes from an emotional place. And as we know, when you lead with 100% emotion, the judgment gets clouded and we make up things in our head to try to make it true so that we can feel like we're being protected. But you don't want to be protected so much against a person that we're not talking about dysfunctional, chaotic, abusive relationships. We're talking about you happy. It's the honeymoon stage. You've been together for some years. You've been together for a decade and you're afraid. And if that fear has nothing to do with the new person, they're coming in at a deficit that's not fair to them and they don't even know why. But what you in turn do by hiding everything is now you're building a stage for conflict later that may hurt both you and the other person. And the source of it had nothing to do with your relationship. I'm gonna need you to let that sink in for a minute. Let it marinate. You're setting up a stage. Even when the times are good, you're setting up the stage for something to happen later that has nothing to do with the relationship you're in. It's not fair to either one of you. Because when you do get into those conflicts in your relationship, that pain goes both ways. And what I do here, it's all about trying to seal those cracks and seal the leaks and try to put the puzzle pieces together, because some of this stuff, not everything, it's not about fixing a confrontation. It's about being able to manage it better. Okay? So you don't want to bring those traumas and those triggers into a new situation, especially when those triggers come from when you do have an argument. So when the argument eventually happens, it's wholly unfair to start off with triggers that the other person, no one even knows what the hell it is. And sometimes you may not even know what it is. And like I always say on my show, you do know what don't feel good feels like. You know that doesn't feel good. And so now we have to create a space, and we'll talk about this later on, where the rules of engagement are set early. Because you know it's going to happen one day. You know an argument and a disagreement is going to happen. Especially if you're not young and you've been in several relationships, you know it's going to happen no matter how good it is. So you have to be prepared to set a stage for respect later. No one said it won't happen, but the respect is key. So the second point I want to make is sometimes the fear, and when I emphasize these words, these are the words I want you to hang on to. The fear of talking and sharing how you feel with the person comes from right inside the relationship. So now we talked about things that you dealt with in the past. And the next phase is sometimes it comes from the existing relationship. And some of these topics, like I led into in the beginning, some of these things you're going to hear me talk about over and over again. And be mindful that the topics and the themes that I repeat over and over again over multiple shows, these are the things that people have the most problem with, but they're very seldom talked about. We can talk about you need to communicate better. You need to do better in confrontation. You need to respect each other better. But we never really get into what it really is, because we use these buzzwords like, I need to pick and choose my battles. I'm not even going to talk to him about that. I know how he is. All of that stuff means that you're not willing to share how you feel because you don't know or don't feel like dealing with that person's reaction to your feelings. Think about that. We're not talking about your coworker. We talking about your husband and your wife and your long-term boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever you want to call it. You scared of that person. Think about that. And I'm not talking from a place of I'm better than you. I've been that person too. But you got to think about it. I'm afraid to share and talk to a person that I'm supposed to love. You saying I love you every day, but I can't talk to you because I know how you react when I talk about a certain topic. I'm going to say it again. Let it settle in. This is a person you supposed to be tight. Y'all friends, y'all hanging out, y'all doing whatever. You in a whole relationship and you scared of that person. You're not scared of the world. You're not scared of your kids or your mama, your daddy, the dude that's mugging you on the street. You can whip that ass. At home, you scared. So when people inside of a relationship, because we know we all come with our own issues and traumas and whatever, and then we got to get in a relationship and hope it mixes together like a gumbo, pun intended. You got to make sure that it work, right? What happens is when you now come into a partnership and you love the person and you get to figure out what those things that person doesn't like or don't like it. Oh, they don't like it when I talk about this subject. It's cool. The problem becomes is when how you feel gets negated by the reaction that the other person has. That's the danger zone. I could not like what you're going to say, but it's not fair for me to mute you down and tell you not to say it because then I'm negating your feelings. And it works both ways, right? And that moment where we thought that we could share, because we all start out the honeymoon phase. It's all good. Oh, I love you. Oh, the hugs feel good. All of that, right? Then that argument happens or that disagreement happens. You have a couple of them and that person has a triggered reaction and you're like, whoa. And when you make a decision to say, I'm not going to talk about that thing that I shared with them ever again because look at how they reacted. That's a red flag. While we talk about red flags in dating, I'm talking about red flags in relationships. You can see what the tension is. And we're going to talk about solutions I'm purposely not talking about how you might be able to kind of fix and head off these things. And even if you're in a relationship and you've been together for 5 years, it's ways that you can still come back in the middle and meet because you don't want to keep staying on this cycle because you start resenting each other after a while. The person who's afraid of the reaction builds resentment of the person that has the triggers. And sometimes it could work both ways. Y'all both avoiding each other's triggers to the point where you're not sharing anything other than how you doing, how was your day? And we would want in a perfect world to be able to say, dang, that what you said, I didn't want to hear it, but I needed to hear it. And I respect how you feel, but or I don't necessarily agree. We need to meet somewhere in the middle, but thank you for telling me, honey. Honey, you love this person. Remember that. Now people will say, certain things you just picking. I would keep saying things I repeat. Pay attention. I'm picking and choosing my battles because I don't like the way it feels when that person reacts. That's what it really means. I don't like the way that I feel when that person has a triggered reaction to something that I'm sharing. So by definition, your honey is making you feel negative emotions. You can't share it with them. So then they don't necessarily know all the time. And sometimes they do. We're going to go there too. Sometimes they may not know how much it affects you because you don't want to share it. And guess what they're going to do? Just like a kid, they're going to keep doing it because there's no consequence. Honey, there's no consequence. There's no you saying, I love you, babe, but that didn't feel good. And if you do that and the person's like, oh, well, get over it, you got to reevaluate who your honey is. We're going to take a moment of silence for all the honeys out there that don't give a damn about your feelings. See how I brought that right back around? Don't give a damn about how you feel in that moment. anger, frustration, rage, whatever it is, it's still your honey. And you still rocking with him. And those of you who follow me know I talk about this all the time. All of that hurt compounds over time. And it allows a disconnect to happen where it has no place. And sometimes we do it to ourselves because we make assumptions about how the person would feel if we really told them how I felt. This is where a lot of couples sit. You sit in these feelings of knowing that you can't discuss things with your honey. Who wants that life, right? A lot of us have lived that life for decades and decades, right? And we just know that certain things, and this is what I was talking about on the first point, certain things that you have built a resistance to over time, you find Mr. or Miss Right, and you like, well, they probably gonna be mad if I talk about this, so I'm not even gonna start off talking about it because I want to broker peace from here forward. You're not sharing. That's not to say that you share every single thing that comes through your brain with them, but the things that are most important to you, that's your honey and your boo, and you can't talk to them about how you feel. Think about it. These are the things that signal you that things need to change. And when you know that things need to change, you may not know how to do it, but you know them things need to change. So you should feel empowered to say, you know what? We've been together for 2 years. And it's many times that I wasn't able to really talk because the way you react to these things, it doesn't really make me feel good. And I know sometimes I've been wrong and sometimes I've been right or whatever, but if we love each other, we got to move forward and try to make it not feel like this. And then the other partner, because they love you, should say, you know what? I didn't know how much it affected you. I apologize. And let's figure out how we can communicate better. But here's the thing. A lot of people don't even know how to communicate better. So then you still end up in a spiral. And that's why I say sometimes you gotta get help. Talk to somebody that you know can do that. Right? And then you can push the narrative forward so that you don't have to keep feeling like this. Think about it. I need you to take a step back. Think about it like this. Let's say you were in a relationship for 5 years and you felt those negative emotions on year 1 and you never shared it. And every time that you get into a disagreement or argument, it keeps happening. Now you on year 5. So at some point you have to take a stand and say, I don't want it to be year 6 and year 7 and still feel like this. Because, and I talked about this when I was on Spin City show the other day. So make sure y'all check out Black Girls Getting Your Shift Together. What you don't want to do, and I'm going to pay attention to the words I'm going to use. You don't want to build a bubble around yourself of resentment and pain while you're still inside your house, because then you start to change into something else that has to pretend like things are happy just to get by every day. Imagine what that feels like for 5, 6, 7 years. You cannot be yourself because you are afraid to share how you feel with the person that you love the most in the world. Let it marinate just a little bit. I'm going to let y'all let it marinate for a minute. I know this is an audio podcast, but we're going to have a moment of silence. All right. So now we're going to move into corrective measures, right? We're going to move into a space of how can we identify that there's a problem, and B, what are some things that you can do to move it into a more healing direction? Because whether we like to admit it or not, the majority of us who have been in relationships and who are in relationships have had to create that bubble. just to make sure that that other person didn't flick off or react, or I already know he's not going to like what I'm going to say, so let me just be quiet. How many people ever said that before? It's a part of how we're built. As humans, we don't like negative energy and negative emotions. Some of us are so traumatized that we think that that's how life is supposed to be. But the person inside you, it doesn't feel good. Why would you purposely be in a situation that doesn't feel good just to say that you are with someone? And even if this is your soulmate, why would you want your soulmate to be the source of your pain? Think about that. My soulmate, my life partner, is the source of my pain. Not your boss, not your mama, your husband. Ouch. These are decisions that we make every single day to choose to be hurt or not. You are making a decision not to address it. And here's another caveat. Let's say you're with a partner that you've had to tell 200 times that it hurts, and they just don't give a damn. Honey, think about it. You can take all the Instagram pictures you want at the beach and all that. Think about it. You have to create a bubble to protect yourself from feeling like that, even when the other person is continuing to do it. Sounds like a punching bag, right? Let it sizzle, let it sink, let it marinate a little bit. It's not a physical punching bag, it's an emotional one. And even if you have mastered the art of avoiding the conflict in your relationship, you're still in a prison because you can't share how you feel. Oh, this is coming. My shows always come from a place. Been there, done that. I got I got the passport. I've been there, came back. I got all the stamps. And the reason why I'm talking to you like this, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because if we do not talk about it, it does exactly the same thing as what I'm talking about. We don't even figure out that we're being a punching bag because we're so used to it. You know how somebody punch you in your arm? It hurts. After a while, it gets numb. Doesn't mean they're not punching you still. You should never want to feel like that. And I know because of the complexities of who we are, what we've been through, it may be hard to crack that nut. It may be hard to crack that shell. Oh, they just stubborn. But you know what? A stubborn person makes a decision to be in a relationship too. Now, I always talk about these people that want you to mold to their dysfunction. Well, you know I'm a jealous person. You're going to have to deal with it. You know I'm stubborn. You just going to have to eat that. No, I don't. I don't have to. I really don't. Especially when you know that you can bend some of it and you and I can meet in the middle and be happier. You're making a choice to say, nah, that's just how I am. I just like hurting you. It's cool. Just get used to it. No. And everybody don't get it first time around. And that's why I always talk about relationship growth. There's a difference between growth and time spent. Big difference. As you grow and you know that it doesn't feel good and you argue and you fight and all of that, if you never get to a point where you say, ouch, you don't grow. And if you really, really, really love somebody, you don't want to see them hurt. I would hope. But like I say, some of y'all get off on that. So I'm not here to judge your relationship. I'm here to help it grow. We all have challenges. That's why they always talk, oh, when you're married and when you're in a relationship, it's hard work. It's only as hard as you make it. And as I think Michelle Ford was on here, and she always talks about fighting the problem and not each other. You got to do that. It's tough. But if you want relationship growth, you have to make it a priority to not keep hurting each other. It's a lot of battered men and battered women out here that have no bruises. I know y'all know this. Stop it. So let's move into how do we even know? Well, you know what? Scratch that. You know what it feels like to be hurt. So if you don't know that, stop playing with yourself. Like I said again, and I will repeat for the 3 millionth time, you know what don't feel good feels like. Even if you have trauma, even if you have been through stuff in your past or stuff, you know what it feels like not to feel good. Little kids know what it feels like not to feel good. You know what that feeling feels like. And you have to create an environment in your home that is a safe space, that when those arguments happen, that one or both of you say, hey, safe space is over there. We need to go over there and talk, because the safe space, we remember we had this discussion, whenever things get heated, here's the rules of engagement so that we don't hurt each other, because we know what hurt feels like. I don't want you to be there. So I'm going to talk about, just so you know where I'm going with this, I'm going to talk about how you do it before you get into a super long-term relationship. And then I'm also going to address if you're already in one, right? So up front, especially my audience who's not 21 and 22, you know the arguments are going to happen. Even if you on date number 10 and you decide at some point y'all going to be exclusive. I know these are things that, people don't do. I know that exclusive word is like this old thing with cobwebs. But let's pretend for play that one day you want to be exclusive with somebody and you want to get out of the situationship and be in something that actually has a name. Because we old enough to know that arguments and disagreements will happen, then you can have these discussions when you're in the honeymoon phase and say, when you argue, in your past relationships, have you been the yeller? Do you like to run? Because I'm a runner. I know that about myself and I'm working on it. Oh, you a yeller? Yeah, we're going to have to work on that because that's a button for me. But when we do get there, honey, I want to make sure that we don't hurt each other. So let's figure out what we can do to make sure that when it happens, that we don't hurt each other. How can we communicate effectively? We might need to go get some counseling together before we get married to make sure that we don't hurt each other, because the arguments are going to happen. It's going to happen. And anybody believes that it will never happen, I got a website you can go to and a Cash App that I'm going to go ahead and I got some stuff I want to sell you. It's going to happen. The question is, are you going to have a disagreement and an argument that's going to have years worth of pain attached to it? Because here's the thing. This is what I talk about when I talk about dating, when I talk about relationships. Let's say you're in the honeymoon phase and everything's cool. And let's say that you have your first disagreement or your first argument and it don't feel good. Hey, honey, I think we got something to talk about. When everything cooled down, I want to talk to you about something, because I love the direction that we moving in, but I know I did something wrong, but it didn't feel good. That tone that yelling, I didn't really like that. Remember we had that discussion about not hurting each other and trying to figure out how to communicate better? This is one of those moments where we kind of need to go back and figure out what that looks like. Listen to my tone when I'm saying this, guys. Respect, honey. Not yelling, not screaming, because I want growth. Honey. Because that's what we talked about when we was getting together. We wanted to be in a relationship that lasted forever, right? That's the goal, right? How do we get there if I know one day you're going to hurt me because we didn't have these discussions early? So now you have to ask yourself, before I jump into the if you're already in a relationship piece, what could some of these communication tools be, right? It's all these things. Take the love language test, and I always talk about, how I always see these people that have, I'm going to hold the object, and as long as I have the object, you can't say anything. You can't interject. You can't tell me I'm right or wrong. I need to get off how I feel. And once I'm done, I'm going to ask you, did you understand what I said? And when you give it back to me, then I can say that's not how I meant it. And guess what? You still can't talk until I give you this back. Now, don't be that person that says, I'm not going to give it to you. I'm just going to keep talking. You can't do that. The other person has to be able to speak their turn. And some people need to have something like that to control themselves. Because some of us just want to get it off. We just want to get it off. But get our point across. Don't really give a damn what you're saying. You got to hear me out. When you build in measures to control that, then the odds of you hurting the other person goes way down. So I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm telling you that you have to figure out what works for you. And sometimes you need to YouTube it. Sometimes you need to go find a coach or a therapist to try to figure out the tools you're going to need for your specific situation because of how you are. But imagine a relationship where you know this stuff up front before you get there. You guys that have been in relationships before, long-term relationships, whether it's a year, 2 years, 5 years, imagine the hurt that you felt from all of those arguments and things that just kind of got under your skin. Imagine if you never had to go through it that harshly because you had things set in place before you even got to the long-term part. Would you still be with the person? In some cases, think about it. And the person that's on YouTube, this is live. So think about it. Like I said, my audience isn't young. We grown enough now to know that we don't want to feel like that again. Sometimes you've dealt with it so much that you even scared to go on dates now. So when you move into a space where you're already in something long term and the hurt's already built up over 5 years, all hope is not lost. You have to, because this is the thing. Let me rewind. Let me paint a picture for you. You married. You in the same household. You might have a kid or two. Sleeping in the same bed. You saying I love you every day. And the home feels peaceful. But it's only peaceful because you're dodging the confrontation for 5 years. So you have the illusion of happiness. And now you come to a point where you just happen to tune into the Relationship Gumbo podcast and you're like, you know what? I think I need to address this with my honey. How do I do it? Because I know he's going to have a negative reaction to change. Oh my God. But here's the thing. The same person that you wake up next to that's telling you that they love you, and you have a kid with this person, y'all got a house together and all this stuff. When that person tell you, and I'm going to tell you, ladies, don't say, we got to talk. you can't say that. You got to have some tact, especially when you are dealing with somebody who's used to being a certain way. You got to address it when you're at a time of peace. And you're going to have to let that person know that you feel like sometimes when you argue that it doesn't come out well and that it doesn't feel good. Because here's the thing. If we don't tell the person that it doesn't feel good, then they sweep it under the rug because it's not really that serious. Because we got over it. But did you really get over it? The answer is most of the time, no, you don't ever get over it. So your honey, hopefully, will be receptive to making you, especially if it's a man that really cares about you, he should be receptive to understanding and hearing that you feel negative energy coming from that thing. And you can be honest and say, I've been holding on to it for a long time and I don't want to keep holding on to it anymore. Because I love you, honey. And I want things to grow even better than it's ever been. And I don't want to feel like this again. And then you sit back and watch how they react to it. If y'all exchanging I love yous and honey this and all of that, I would hope that that person would be like, you know what? I don't want you to feel like that. And, oh yeah, when y'all go to sleep tonight, y'all going to hear honey about 300 times. I'm doing it on purpose. Because honey is representative of the connection that you still have between each other to where you're addressing each other in a loving way. If that person thrives off of hurting you, then you have some things to reevaluate. And that doesn't mean leave. Reevaluate. And you have to, because if I ever tell you to leave, then you're going to be like, well, Derek said to leave. Nope, Derek didn't say that. I'm putting it on video, on record. Derek didn't say leave. Derek said you got to come to somewhere in the middle. That doesn't mean that you change who the person is. You don't want you married the person. You love them. You don't want them to change who they are. But you can change how you treat me, though. I need you to catch that. You don't have to change who you are, but you can change how you treat me because it doesn't feel good. And the last thing you want to do is to resent the person that you live with to the point where you got to go somewhere else to feel good. I need you to catch it. This is where it starts. Let it sink in for a minute. This is where it starts. Some cheaters are born and some cheaters are created. That doesn't mean it's your fault. It's human behavior and human emotion mixed together in a big old pot. And sometimes you don't know what the outcome is. But resentment is one of those things. I can't get comfort because they don't give a damn about my feelings. But then you got to ask yourself, did you address your feelings? Do they even know that it hurt? Because some people get in arguments and they've been in relationship after relationship and they like, we'll just make up, have some make up sex and it'll be cool. No, it's not. You got one or both parties crying and then, it's cool now. So, y'all got to make it make sense. Because what I don't want for any of you on here is to keep repeating a cycle where you then becomes something else, where you then have to create a character that's not even who you are. I don't want that for you. I don't want that for any of y'all. I want you to be your organic, unique, amazing selves and find somebody who falls in love with that. Because here's the thing. I need you guys to check this. When I say this is the part you need to hear. When you meet the person that you fall in love with, you are one way. They fell in love with you that way. And it's everything that they ever wanted. When you have to turn into a resentful, hateful person because you never addressed the pain that person is giving you every time you argue, over time, you cease to become that original person. Please catch this next part. If you're no longer the original person because chunks of you have been taken out over time, the partner that you with, by definition, the conflict is going to increase because they're no longer with the person that they fell in love with. And you wondering why it's going so bad. It's because you're not the same two people anymore. Because you did not communicate effectively. That's why no matter what coach, therapist, whatever, all of us are going to always say better, effective communication is the key. You never really hear the layers peel back this deep. That's why I want you to really listen and really digest this. The reason why the turmoil kicks up a notch over time is because the two people are no longer the same two people that fell in love with each other in the beginning. You're different. Think about the amount of pain that you feel when you get hurt by the person that you're the most vulnerable to. Let it marinate. Because I know y'all been there. That's why people are afraid to be in relationships now, because if I give you my vulnerability, what do I become if that person hurts me? That's what I'm scared of. But how you counteract it is you lead with your organic self. You don't be afraid that if and when you become vulnerable, you tell them how you feel. And if they don't like it, then they can go. You got to stand on that. So the key here is the overarching umbrella. It is your duty from start to finish, because we older now. You reserve the right to create safe spaces for each other on day one, because you already know you need it. Now, if you're already in, like I said, that's a conversation you're going to have with two grown adults. I don't know how we going to fix it, but something's got to change. And I don't just want to wake up tomorrow and go about and go to work and think it's cute. It's not cute. You gotta feel that in your spirit. And I know that a lot of you guys who may be in the situation right now, the tears going to flow. You're going to think about this when you get off of here, and you're going to be like, damn, that's me. Good. Now you know. Now you know the direction that you need to go in. And I'm not saying leave. I'm saying if this is your honey, I need to tell you about something that I'm feeling right now. It's not sitting right with me. If they give you the shoulder shrug, then you're dealing with a special person. Most of the time, when you know that this person isn't a bad, horrible person, sometimes the message just needs to be delivered in a different way so they really understand that it has impact. Sometimes tears don't even make people understand how much it hurts. Sometimes you have to say the words, "This doesn't feel good. Those words hurt me." And when you do that, at the very, very least, then you know for an absolute fact that the other party is informed with a certainty. There's no guessing when you talk like that. And I would say, in most cases, if the communication is effective, a lot of these people would turn around once they know the severity of what the consequences could be. And then you have, another segment of people who just don't give a damn. They just want to get their way. And so the other point I wanted to make was that sometimes we're just naturally two different types of beings, right? Sometimes you'll have like an extremely dominant person, and sometimes that person will link up with someone who's really passive, and it just works. But the passive person never gets to say how they feel. And that is why it's important to bring these things up early. Especially if you know, like you're a woman, and you're like, yeah, I need me an alpha male, and he needs to be strong, and woo woo woo. Oh, I know he's gonna turn up if I talk about how I feel. So let me. The way you counteract that early is you have these light conversations about serious things early, so it doesn't come as a surprise later. You gotta do it. And if you're already in a relationship and you've been afraid to talk about it for years, guess what? It's never too late to affect change on your relationship so that the relationship will grow and not be stagnant. Because the person that's yelling and arguing and doing all the stuff that's hurting you, they know that it don't feel good. Who wants to do that every day? Now we know, you got these narcissists and all these. We're not talking about them. We're talking about just regular people just in relationships that are having these problems. Because some people legitimately need to go sit on somebody's couch because they really got some issues with the amount of pain they're dishing out. That's a whole nother show. So, just be self-aware of who you are, who you want to be, and where you want your relationship to go. And if it's not tracking to that, then you're going to have to do what I call these temperature checks. Hey, honey, are we good? I know you've been having rough weeks or whatever, but I want to sit down because I know that, you're human. I know it's stressful. What can I do to help create a safe space for you? Imagine if you never said that and that person's coming in the house on 10 because they stressed out from some other stuff and they taking it out on you because they don't think that you can identify with what they're going through, which then means that they feel like they can't connect with you. Because what a lot of us have a tendency to do is we want to force it out of them. I need you to tell me how you feel. Something ain't right. You hear my tone when I just said that? That's going to make somebody be like, you know what, I'm good. Sound familiar? I'm going to read a couple of comments and then I'm going to start wrapping up in a minute. Michelle Ford says, well, Latrina Hunter says, respect. I'm not going to go all the way back. Michelle Ford says, yes, there should always be respect even in the midst of disagreeing. Exactly. Spin City says authenticity is key, period. She also says one can't open your mouth and heart, but the legs spread eagle. Yeah, that's the thing. We can have a whole nother show about the spread eagle legs and how everything is. I just had that conversation with somebody, I believe earlier today, where it was just like somebody was talking. It was I almost said female, guys. I don't want to say female. There was a woman that was talking about she wanted to be in a relationship, but for now she just wanted to kind of live an emotionally detached existence and kind of just have sex and do all of this stuff. But at the same time, she knew that she wanted to be in something. So it's that gray area where you may end up falling for somebody when you're trying to attempt to have this emotionally detached life. And you got to be honest with yourself. You got to be honest with your emotions. And if you ain't built for that, don't do it. I'm not your judge. But Spin City says, sign me up. Yeah, right. You find a dude that you really, 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 really feeling. It's going to be hard for you to not like that dude and kind of want to be in this space. And if you are a person that can just turn your heart on and off with a switch, God bless you. That must be an interesting life where you can just not have any emotions. I'm gonna just leave it there, and you got to look at that. Because notice I didn't say not as emotional, no emotion. Some people out here waving that flag. So to this topic, you don't want to live in fear. Inside your head, inside your house, inside your relationship, and think that that's going to be cool long term. It may look cool, but is it really? Because in past relationships, I've been the look cool king. Look cool. And some of y'all know what I'm about to say in this next topic. To be so in the look cool mode and then have to go home and lay in the bed next to that same person. It ain't easy. And I know y'all know what I'm talking about. It's like sleeping with the enemy, right? Oh, Spin City said, sign me up to listen to the Spread Eagle topic. I was about to say, I know you. That didn't sound like you. So yeah, so correction on that. Yeah, I know you will. I might have to do a panel on that one. Yeah, think about that. Think about that. So I'm gonna wrap this up because we almost at an hour. I try to cap myself at an hour, even though sometimes it doesn't work out that way. But I thank you guys who are listening. I appreciate you for hanging on. And I hopefully gave you some things to let's see. The Tanya Michelle says she want to be on it. Oh, we gotta. I forgot who y'all were. I'm gonna have to think about that. I already got the panel right here tonight or online. Erica says I've slept with some enemies. Yeah. And Spin City says thank you for clearing my name. Yeah, we want you to have a squeaky clean name. And those of you, and I'm all about supporting who supports me. And I have some folks that's been rocking with me for a while. And Spin City has a podcast and a brand called Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together, and she just got her she got a bunch of certifications all at once. She's now a life coach and a couple other things. But follow her. Follow Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together. She has a good thing going over there, and she's got all of her stuff together and she ready to go. So y'all hit her up because I know y'all seen her on here many times. So support her. Support Michelle Ford with thatmft.com. Support Latanya Michelle. I don't even know. Well, she has Tiger Eyes 360 Media. Put all y'all stuff in the comments, man. Get it in. And yes, this is on the live podcast, and I don't give a damn. These my folks. So anybody that has a business or anything you want to push, put it in the comments. Cause it's some folks on here that got some stuff going on. Latanya Michelle is a machine. She got a lot of stuff going on. Y'all need to check her out. And yeah, so I can't do all of that without plugging my own stuff, right? Make sure you go to relationshipgumbo.info. We have merch. We have one-on-one coaching sessions. We have a group coaching app. We got the podcast. The audio podcast you can listen to on your headphones in your car. I think we're at like 71 episodes now. So we rolling. And you can get that on, on the video side, YouTube, Facebook, on the audio side, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Alexa, anything you can get a podcast on, I'm there. So y'all really like this. I know y'all felt the passion for this topic tonight out of me, but I'm passionate about it, not just because I've been there before, but I see it so often. And it's one of the reasons why I decided to become a coach because I see it. Even when you don't see it, I'm like, wait, y'all didn't have to go all the way here. All you had to do was change the communication at this point, and then like, we got to get you back here. Like, it's a lot of times it be that tweak that sends you in a different point of growth. And those of you who are single, if you didn't know, now you know that it is essential for you to protect yourself and protect your peace from getting to a point where you allow somebody to hurt you like that. And sometimes it's not even a malicious act. Sometimes y'all traumas just ain't mixing right together. But there is redemption if you allow yourself to respect each other and find yourself common ground in the middle. Ain't nobody perfect, but we can make better decisions. So I'm going to get off of here, guys. Make sure you guys go to relationshipgumbo.info. Check out all my goodies. Those of you who are on the group coaching thing, we are doing a session tomorrow at 7 p.m. That information is the Zoom link's gonna roll out tonight. Make sure you show up for that. We got a good topic. You'll see the advertisements go up, but yeah, we gonna have that thing. And then, like, those of you who when you go to the site, when you go to the relationshipgumbo.info, you'll see the group coaching link. You go in there, you get a 7-day free trial. You can come in tomorrow night. We got a live Q&A where you can ask whatever the hell you want. Doesn't matter. You have access to me, so get it in. East Penn City, thank you for that. It's Black History Month. Not that this should be the only time, but support black businesses, man. That's that. I wasn't even thinking about that. I just love y'all, so I be plugging the hell out of y'all. Y'all just happen to be black. So yeah, support black businesses. And let's get it in. Love each other. Champion love. This separation movement of, I got to do I might have to get a panel of y'all about this whole high value man and high value woman and hypergamy, and it makes my head spin. Oh, we got to be 50-50 on everything because I want to make sure that you ain't going to get me if I going to get you first, and how much skin in the game you got. It makes my head spin. But there's hope. There's hope. There's light at the end of the tunnel. We just have to work on ourselves and try to make better decisions. But there's people out there for all of us to have what we want. We just got to stop putting people in our path that waste our time. So on that note, I'm going to end the podcast. Y'all have an amazing night, an amazing rest of the week. Please stay safe. And if you in one of those states, I'm going to say this on everything I do. If you one of them states where y'all up in each other's face like this close, like 1 inch away from it, y'all need to stop it. I need y'all safe and I need y'all here. So y'all have a great day. I appreciate you. And on that note, we out of here.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I know. Derrick Jones about to break it down with the relationship gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, cause better relationships need better ingredients, so if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better, yeah.